So I'm a gastroenterologist, and I practice and live in the suburbs of Detroit, Michigan. I'm a big sports fan.
He became the Rhodes Scholar representative as well as the homecoming king at Ohio State.
You know, what we're trying to do is replicate what you would have, for example, in my office. You know, we want to be real and answer questions that are tough sometimes. Take a topic and really understand it and develop a solution. At the end, we'll help the patient that's in front of us and also help the patients at home as well as in the studio audience. That's the essence of what we want to do. Welcome, and thank you. Thank you for that warm applause. Thank you, I appreciate it. For those of you watching at home, thank you for watching. You know, today we're talking about veganism, a topic that has become a way of life for up to 8 million Americans. Now, vegans are vegetarians who don't use or consume animal products or byproducts. As the movement to quote-unquote go green becomes more popular, young people are increasingly paying attention to the Earth's resources and the environment. Now, veganism not only benefits the environment, but also improves your health. A vegan diet includes fruits, vegetables, leafy greens, nuts, seeds, legumes, and whole grain products. That's very important to provide sources of vitamin B12, iodine, vitamin D, and omega-3. You also need to take an adequate intake of protein. Now, many people believe this is hard to do without meat, but it's very possible with a vegan diet. Lentils, chickpeas, peanut butter, and soy milk are such examples of protein. Now, similar to every diet, veganism has risks if you are not educated about nutrition. Now, it's common for vegans to experience nutritional deficiencies if not educated. For example, it's hard to obtain enough vitamin D, so you must try to expose yourself to limited sunlight or drink vitamin D fortified orange juice or soy milk. Now, furthermore, for mothers who are pregnant, you must be very conscious about maintaining a balanced diet. In the U.S., it may initially seem to be more expensive, with fruits and vegetables and soy products generally more costly than processed food. Now, research shows that if you're an educated and experienced vegan, you can have plenty of health benefits. For many people, veganism is a healthy way to lose weight. Now, since the vegan diet is free of cholesterol and generally low in saturated fats, it reduces the risk of heart disease by 26%. Also, a vegan diet can control diabetes better than the standard ADA diet. Now, the risk of cancer may also be decreased with lower rates in breast, prostate, and colon cancers. Bone loss may also be decreased. Also, foodborne illnesses such as common bacterial infections can be avoided. Even more than reducing the risk of disease, a common reaction to vegan diets is more energy, both physically and mentally. Now, let's take a look at the story of Jeffrey Shillman and experience with vegan diet. Please watch with me.
I'm Jeffrey Shillman. I'm on a diet that's better known as a vegan diet. I also have some fish, so it's not totally a vegan diet. A vegan diet is one where you don't eat any animal products. It's been said that it's food that never had a mother. It reduces the risk of heart disease substantially. It lowers your cholesterol. It raises your good cholesterol, lowers the bad cholesterol. There's also been some studies that it reduces cancer risk. On a personal activity level, it increases your energy and your activity. You enjoy what you get used to, and that's true in my case. I don't miss any of these other things that I used to eat that were unhealthy. And I enjoy what I eat now in the vegan diet.
That was great. When we come back, we'll meet Jeffrey. Please don't go away.
So after I was on this diet for a while, my total cholesterol dropped maybe 75 points.
Interesting.
And my LDL dropped way below what they consider good. My HDL rose. So
excellent.
And and I take a screening test every year, which has been good.
Welcome back. Now we have Jeffrey Shillman. Jeffrey, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
And I want you to talk a little bit about your experience with vegan diet. But before that, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, I was a practicing attorney for over 40 years. I retired within the last couple of years. And now I'm retired and enjoying it
Oh,
tremendously.
good. And you're being proactive with your health,
Yes.
clearly with the vegan diet. Now, what prompted you to start? When did you start your vegan diet?
Well, it's been more a progressive thing. I started it because of a very bad family history of coronary artery disease. And
which is basically, for those of you who are listening at home, coronary artery disease is basically when you can have heart, the blood vessels or the ones that take blood to your heart, if they close up and block up, that's called coronary artery disease, and it can give you heart attacks.
Right, and I had a very strong history in my family of heart attacks, bypasses, etc. And I wanted to try to avoid it.
Sure.
And I thought at the beginning it was just being thin, that would do it. But I found out that and I was a runner, and I found out that so many runners were having heart attacks and the disease, etc. And I gradually started learning, and you have to learn on your own. I started learning on how diet can affect coronary artery disease in a favorable way. So it was a gradual process until approximately maybe 8 years ago. I was on a totally vegan diet except for some fish.
Okay.
I couldn't give that up entirely. So I eat some fish, but I eat no meat, turkey, chicken, dairy products, etc.
And you feel better, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
And one point that Jeff made is that, he had a strong family history of coronary artery disease, and he wanted to reduce that risk for him. Things work best, in my opinion, when you have a goal. If you just do something, just do it. It's harder to stay on it, but if you have a purpose in mind that I'd like to do this to prevent this or achieve a goal, if you're goal-oriented, whether it be a diet or any other habit, it's just easier to adhere to, easier to do, and it gives you motivation. So, there are lots of ways you can go about reducing your risk of coronary disease. Why did you choose this way, the vegan?
Well, I started reading because motivation without education is worthless. You can be motivated.
That's well said.
You can be motivated, but if you're not educated,
doesn't matter.
It's not going to do any good. So basically, I picked vegan because I had started reading about it, and I started by giving up meat, but I was still eating chicken, turkey, processed foods, and I happened to go to a physician who was a preventative cardiologist, which you don't find very often.
Sure.
I think most physicians, and this isn't a knock on them, I think it's more
we've been
education.
Trained. We've been trained that way.
They haven't been trained. So most physicians just fix what's been broken.
Reactive.
Where a preventive physician wants to prevent it from being broken.
Sure.
So I think the strongest impetus in becoming a vegan was that my physician suggested that I read a book called The China Study.
The China Study.
By a Dr. Campbell. And you read about all of the things that the animal products, the dairy products, etc., can do to your health in a negative way, that it really meant a lot to me.
And also processed foods, right?
Oh,
you
absolutely.
talk about processed foods in that book
Yes.
quite a bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that, in addition to my motivation, got me into the diet that I'm on now.
An important point that Jeff makes is that you can be motivated and have a goal, but the key is education. You can only get blueprints from diets or plans, but what you have to do is that fix that blueprint with your life and education and make it fit. Now, did you notice when you started the vegan diets any health benefits, and how quickly did you notice things changing?
Absolutely. As I said, I was going to a cardiologist, not because I had disease, but to prevent disease. And when I started going to this person, my cholesterol was well over 200, and
which is abnormal. And for those who don't know, cholesterol of over 200 is abnormal.
And my LDL, which I guess is the bad cholesterol, was high.
Okay.
And my HDL, which is the good cholesterol, was low. But after I was on this diet for a while, my total cholesterol dropped maybe 75 points.
Interesting.
And my LDL dropped way below what they consider good. My HDL rose. So
excellent.
And and I take a screening test every year, which has been good. So far.
So good.
So good.
So what about feeling good? Did you get more benefits as far as feeling like you have more energy. Did that happen to you at all?
Yes, the energy, there's no question about it.
And how quickly is that? For those of us who need to know, like how quickly am I going to feel
It's
good?
not going to be overnight, obviously. Sure. It's probably, again, a gradual process, but it's a matter of maybe 2-3 months. You can notice a noticeable difference that you're not as sluggish anymore. You don't get that, what do they call it, the 2 o'clock drowsiness at the office.
Sure.
Excuse me. And I'd say about 2 to 3 months. And now that I am retired, I find it's great because I go nonstop during the day now.
And how long have you been vegan?
I have been vegan about, again, it was gradual, but totally for, I'd say, 7-8 years.
So you were actually working at the time when you were vegan?
Yes. I would bring in food into the office. I had a little refrigerator.
Great.
A lot of fruits, vegetables.
Well, hold that thought for a second. We're running out of time, but when we come back, we'll have more with Jeff. Please don't go away.
Well, there's no question that organic vegetables and fruits are costly.
Yeah.
But if you compare it to the costs of chicken, turkey, beef, etc., you're saving money.
Please welcome back. And when we left you, we had to interrupt Jeff, and he was talking about ways when he was working how to fit the vegan diet into his work schedule. Tell us a little bit about it. You said you actually had things in the refrigerator at work, right?
Well, in the morning, I would bring in, they have an instant organic oatmeal that's gluten-free.
Oh, okay.
And I would have that for breakfast. All you did was add hot water, and we had that in the office.
Sure.
And then at lunchtime, I would bring a lot of fruit like bananas, apples, etc. Sometimes I would make a small salad. So there's things to eat. So I would eat that.
The key is incorporate it into your life. And again, it's a blueprint. So you have to make it fit with your environment. You know, if you're a firefighter, if you're a paramedic, if you're a physician, if you're an attorney, just make it fit with your life and have the blueprint involved so it can work for you. Now, initially, there's a myth, that it's going to be very costly, and going through the vegan diet with lots of vegetables instead of processed foods will be costly. Did you find it to be more costly?
Well, there's no question that organic vegetables and fruits are costly.
Yeah.
But if you compare it to the costs of chicken, turkey, beef, etc., you're saving money.
In the long run.
Yes. I mean, people just compare organic vegetables and fruits with non-organic, and they say, oh my goodness, that's so expensive. But again, it doesn't have all of the toxins in it. It's more healthy for you. And it's much cheaper than being on the average American diet.
Sure. And there are some vegans who don't always just do organic.
That's true.
They just do vegetables. And one important tip, and we talked about this in a previous episode, is that frozen vegetables. Frozen vegetables are often frozen fresh, and you can get them at a good deal. And so it's not always that you have to be tied with the cost of having fresh fruits and vegetables. And you can get some of the stuff frozen at a good price. So it doesn't always have to be costly, even if you compare it. Now, you are an attorney, and I'm sure there are many situations where you had to be in a social environment and social gathering where there's non-vegan food. What did you do about that? How did you manage?
It was always manageable. People are very cooperative. Chefs are very cooperative. They always have something in the back that you can eat. And of course, as I say, I cheat a little bit with fish.
Sure.
So, you tell them not to make it in oil, no butter, and just grill it or broil it, and they're very cooperative, and they have vegetables back there, so I have never found that to be difficult, whether it's a social setting, whether it's a restaurant. There's a lot of restaurants that have vegan entrees on the menu, and even if they're not,
you can ask for it.
Don't be embarrassed to ask for it. I think the biggest problem with most people going on a vegan diet is they're intimidated. They're defeatists from the beginning.
It's not going to work.
But it's no problem. And then they say, oh, I can't give up this food, I can't give up that food. But you definitely get used to what you eat. I've always felt that. It's delicious, and it's healthy. That's the main thing.
How long did it take before it became delicious?
Not long. Not long. As salads are you can throw everything into a salad. I mean, that's
my
vegan.
wife always says she likes any salad. In the world.
Or you can throw it into the blender, the Vitamix. I'm not plugging.
Sure. No, but yeah.
You throw it into the Vitamix. You can throw everything in your refrigerator into the Vitamix. You throw kale, you throw spinach, you throw garlic, you throw fruit, and you mix it all together, and you make a smoothie. You throw in ice, and it's healthy for you, and it's very good.
And great tips. Number one is that you can be, and it's very important, you can be a defeatist, meaning that you can say, here's a barrier, that's why I'm not doing it. Or you can say, this is what I'm going to do to overcome that barrier. It's very important, whether we talk about this or other health problems that you have or other problems in life, is that you can either say that it's not going to ever work for me, or I'm going to find a way to make it work. And you did. Even in social situations, you can tell people, and they really understand. I said before, on Thursdays and Saturdays, we're essentially, vegetarian/vegan, and people really accommodate you.
Absolutely.
So now, people think automatically, people at home say, oh, vegan, if you're vegan, you must be healthier, right? That's not always true. You really have to be educated, don't you?
Absolutely.
You can be vegan and pretty unhealthy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, there's things that don't have meat, turkey, chicken, and dairy in it that are very unhealthy.
That's right.
I also, and it's not really extreme, I also cut out sugars.
Okay.
And refined carbohydrates.
The China diet, that's exactly.
And you can substitute that with quinoa. They have quinoa noodles that's just like spaghetti.
Tell people at home who don't never heard of quinoa. What is quinoa?
Quinoa is a grain, but it's very full of protein. It can come as a rice substance, or it can come as a pasta substance, and it's got a lot of protein in it. And there's many evenings at home where we'll boil the quinoa noodles, as I say, it's just like a pasta, and add a marinara sauce.
Oh, nice.
And it's very good. I don't miss the meat at all.
Oh yeah, because I think you've really made solutions for yourself to make things delicious. And again, that's the key. Obviously, we're talking about veganism and vegan diets and all the advantages. But I think as important is your approach and how you take whatever is given to you, incorporate it into your life so to make it the best it is. So very, very nice tips. I really appreciate you taking the time.
It's my pleasure.
To be with
Thank
us.
you, Dr. Nandi.
No problem. Hopefully, you can have some people as successful as you are with the vegan diet.
That would be great.
We have to take a break. When we come back, Dr. Joel Kahn, our cardiologist, joins us. Please don't go away.
You will never find an antioxidant in a bagel. You
Sure.
will never find,
Although I wish I did.
Yeah, exactly. A phytonutrient in a grilled chicken. There are certain essential health items that are only in fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, and when you start pumping your diet full of them, you may feel a lot better.
Welcome back. We now have our favorite cardiologist, Dr. Kahn. Dr. Kahn, thank you for coming back.
Well, thank you.
No problem. And we're talking a little bit about veganism and the vegan diet today, and it seems like it's becoming more and more popular. And what do you think? Why do you think that's happening? Well, vegan diets, that is.
At least a couple of reasons. One is we're recognizing the rise in obesity, the rise in diabetes, the rise in concern that the food is compromised by antibiotics, hormones. People are reading this stuff all the time.
Sure.
And getting to organic and plant-based or vegan, similar terms, just makes sense in the world we've created. The other part is the celebrity aspect. We've got President Bill Clinton out there talking about it on CNN.
Oh, that's right.
We've got athletes out there winning golf tournaments, tennis tournaments, and other activities. Carrie Underwood talking about vegan, and lots of celebrities at Hollywood. So it's gained a certain kind of popular notoriety and a popular buzz about it, the tipping point.
Perfect. And important points that even though it's more popular, it's actually beneficial for your health. So I think it's a good thing. Lots of times we see celebrities endorse these things, and we don't always love the plastic surgery that they endorse and et cetera. But this is nice that celebrities can actually increase the public awareness of something like a vegan diet. Now, we talk about the benefits. What are the actual benefits of a vegan diet?
Well, if you're eating, and again, we can talk plant-based, vegan, there's a lot of terms that fit in. if you're eliminating most or all animal products, you got to bring your fat content down. You
Okay.
got to bring your cholesterol content down. Plants don't have cholesterol.
Sure.
And those things may benefit issues you've got to deal with. Often the calorie content of vegan diets is less than animal-based diets. And if you're dealing with a weight issue, dealing with a blood sugar issue, if you use a sensible, balanced vegan diet, you're going to have some improvement there. And then, you will never find an antioxidant in a bagel. You
Sure.
will never find,
Although I wish I did.
yeah, exactly, a phytonutrient in a grilled chicken. There are certain essential health items that are only in fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, and when you start pumping your diet full of them, you may feel a lot better.
Sure, great points. So we talked about the fact that because the vegetable or the plant products may be less calorie dense, which means there's just less calories in them, you may be able to have some weight loss. Because there's less, maybe fat content and cholesterol, you may have those. And as a side effect or a side benefit, then it prevents you from going on to have heart disease, or it prevents you from going on to have cancer. So very direct effects. But it should also be understood that it's not an automatic. Meaning, if you have, a vegan diet and, for example, a candy bar that's made entirely with plant products, or any kind of fried foods that's made with vegetable oil, that's not a healthy diet. So again, it's a blueprint or a pathway in order for us to have a way to have a healthy diet. So I think that should be said in part and parcel with having a vegan diet. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree completely.
Absolutely. And then what about some of the risks? Now, what should people worry about when they have a vegan diet? What I mean by risks is, so you understand at home, is that nutritional risks. So not that something bad is going to happen, but nutritional risk. What can be some of the pitfalls that we have to worry about?
Well, there are a few, and in fact, to be honest, in the world history, there's never really been vegan societies out there, but the areas in the world where people live the longest, they may eat 90% of their calories or 95% of their calories from vegetables and fruit, and they throw in a little animal-based product that might exist in their culture, like Okinawa, like places in Pakistan where people live over 100 frequently. So because we're kind of transforming it into an all plant-based diet, if you eat only fruit, you are going to miss out on a lot of protein and a lot of nutrients.
Sure.
And there's a few vegans that choose that, and I don't advise it. Number two, if you're really strict on a vegan choice of diet, you will miss out on a couple nutrients. And the big one and the important one is B12. There are sources in the environment. It's actually the dirt on the vegetables, but our nature is to wash off the dirt, and you miss out on the B12. You get it if you're eating meat. You don't get it if you're eating plants. So you need to take a supplement from a vegetable, a grocer, or a vitamin shop of B12. Some also advise take other supplements, but B12 is the big one. That is really the risk.
And in some cases as well, is make sure you get enough D as well for yourself. So, but and there's some nutritional risks, but a lot of benefits. And as you talked about, there have been the societies you talked about, in Okinawa and Pakistan. Those folks live significantly longer, right, than some of our Western cultures where there's a meat-laden diet. So these folks are living much longer with really not much difference except for the diets that they have. Isn't that correct?
Well, actually, the most interesting example, I think, is Loma Linda, California. It's just a few miles away from Los Angeles, but because of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, the number of vegetarians in Loma Linda is extremely high compared to the average metropolitan area. But the average lifespan just a few miles away is 10 years longer in Loma Linda. That's one of these areas that has this exceptional lifespan, and it's the diet.
And it's and again, so you can fill for other things, and just with following a vegan diet, you can. I mean, it's a simple change, but again, you have to be educated. You have to understand the supplements that you have to take along with it. But you can do many things. I mean, the longevity or increase in the lifespan may be due to many factors, including the fact that they're not having a heart attack and dying, or the cancer risks are lower. So really, it can have some tremendous changes around society, around the world, and even as close as California. So it's important to know that we have an example close by, but a pathway to follow. So great advice. We have to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more with Dr. Kahn and veganism and vegan diet. Please don't go away.
By far, the specific hardest thing is for people is giving up cheese. There's actually chemical addiction to cheese. There's products in cheese called casomorphines, light up the brain like morphine.
Thank you for coming back. You know, when we left you, we were talking a little bit about vegan diets, and you know, during the break, I was talking with Dr. Kahn about blue zones, and tell us a little bit about the blue zones.
Well, it's a really interesting concept in the last dozen years that if you look where people live the longest in the world, there's 5 areas. I mentioned Loma Linda, Sardinia, a little island off of Italy, and Okinawa in Japan, and there's a couple others. But what's characteristic of all of them, they have different diets, but their diet is over 90% vegetables and fruits, and they scavenge for some meat here and there. They're poor communities generally, but people are active, they're thin, they're mentally sharp. It's unknown to know about Alzheimer's in these communities.
Oh, wow.
Because it's this high, nutrition-dense, calorie-poor diet, which is what a vegan diet is.
Oh, excellent. So, interesting, blue zones. You know, in this society, in our American diet, how tough is it for us to go from, you know, your general American diet to vegan diet? Is it very difficult for those of you at home thinking, you know, how am I going to go from my regular diet and switch all of a sudden? How difficult is that?
Well, I think you do, for most people, it's step by step. In my own life, it was step by step. I gave up animal meat first, and I would suggest that people do something like a meatless Monday. Pick a day a week where the whole family, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, is not going to involve animal products. I'm talking eggs, dairy, and meat. A day a week, anybody can maneuver through their day. I pack lunches because that way I know I'm getting what I want and don't have to search. And then you can move it to 2 days a week. Certainly breakfast doesn't need to be an animal-based meal. Unfortunately, it is for many Americans. So it's a little preparation. Of course, it's always reading, self-education, watching shows like this. You're doing a good job.
I appreciate it. You know, that's a very good tip about packing your own lunch. You know, everybody's just on the go and they're always hurried and they don't have enough time. But you have to make time for this. This is your life. I mean, this is all you have is your body, and make the time in the morning or maybe the night before to pack a lunch so you know exactly what's going in your body. You can't count on a restaurant sometimes to give exactly what you want. That's a great tip. Now, we were talking about our vegan on the show, Jeff, and what do you think of Jeff's experience? Is that pretty typical for folks, do you think?
Yes, I mean, a good example of a healthy eater, but in the animal world, who made a transition sort of step by step. That's where I see most people doing it. Got himself educated by reading some books, watching some videos, asking questions, and really has evolved to where he's a blue zone eater. I mean, there may be a little fish in his diet now and then, and I don't think that's such a bad choice, but boy, is he packing in vegetables and fruits, and he's feeling better.
And how long does it take for somebody to feel better? So if I today go from my general diet to veganism, and I know it's variable, I'm sure it depends on the individual, but when did you start feeling better?
Yeah, when I went from that Snickers bar vegetarian vegan, and I didn't really do many Snickers.
Sure.
When I finally gave up some of the artificial hamburgers, artificial hot dogs, and really went to the farmer's market and started eating in a farmer's market way, organic food.
Sure.
Really got energy. And what I find is people will feel better right away if they're lactose intolerant, because they've never known that dairy, eggs, cheese, actually it's mainly the dairy, was upsetting their GI tract, and within a week they can feel better. And then as they just start to load their body, it'll probably take a couple months and they'll really feel
much better. Well, that's great. So, you know, again, it may not be, in our fast food kind of instant world, it may not be a quick fix within a day or two, but within a couple months you can see some advantages, and it's completely worth it. Now, what's the most difficult part of being on a vegan diet? I mean, in some of the people that you've talked to, your patients and some colleagues, what's the most difficult part of it?
2 answers. One is the social answer. It's Thanksgiving, it's Christmas, it's birthday parties.
Sure.
Everybody's grilling burgers and hot dogs, and you've chosen to avoid meat and dairy and eggs.
Yeah, what do you do?
You know, you got to get some education to tell people, I mean, I'm here for health. My health is worth my choosing, and you may have to bring some of your own food. You may have to call your friend, relatives ahead and say, hey, can you be sure there's lots of side dishes? It'll all work out. And maybe it's worth, if it's not a health allergy, a little flexibility on a holiday so you keep that social attention down. By far, the specific hardest thing is for people is giving up cheese. There's actually chemical addiction to cheese. There's products in cheese called casomorphines, light up the brain like morphine, and people really have a hard time weaning off of cheese. The food industry has responded with some really good cheese substitutes now, making cooking at home much easier.
Yeah, I can see why I love cheese now.
Yeah.
So, you know, we live it. In our family, we have meatless Thursdays and Saturdays, and there's one holiday in America that's always on Thursday, which is Thanksgiving. So, like you said, everybody that's in our family knows now they have to prepare a meal that's almost vegan. And so it's interesting that you said that. And it can work. It's not easy, but it can work. And so you just have to educate those folks. We only have about a minute or so left. Tell us, a little bit about the environmental concerns that people have, in the sense that how can we improve the environment with a vegan diet? We don't have a lot of time, but what's your best?
Yeah, well,
thoughts?
it's a big issue if you read into it, because the farming industry in terms of cows, chicken, egg production uses so much of our energy, produces so much waste. If you'll study it, you'll be amazed. The carbon footprint, it's a common term, of a vegetarian or vegan is so much smaller in terms of carbon dioxide production, waste production, because it's not you, it's the cow, the chicken, and the farm that has to exist for you to eat the way you're eating. And you can really improve the health of the world if another 8 million Americans went vegetarian, vegan. That would be
even better.
A sizable improvement in our energy requirements and the whole country's health.
Great, thank you. And so we talked about your personal and health benefits and also the environment. So it's great stuff. I really appreciate it. You have to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have some questions from the studio audience. Please don't go away.
Spend more, eat less.
Spend more, eat less.
Spend time on your health that's quality. I also tell them, go price out chemotherapy if you're concerned about the cost of vegetables and fruits, because we're talking about actual prevention of disease. Food is medicine.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. It's now time to take some questions from our studio audience. Dr. Kahn, you ready?
I'm ready.
Perfect. Yes, sir.
I was wondering, can a vegan diet provide the proper nutrition for the health needs of America?
It's a really good question, because we think that if you're vegan, are you missing some nutrients, and because of the fact that you're missing all the animal products. And it's an excellent question. Dr. Kahn, what do you think? I mean, the idea is that there are all these recommendations by the federal government and societies. Can a vegan diet, a strict vegan diet, actually meet those?
Yeah. Well, if you want to go by the book, the American Dietetic Association has endorsed that a well thought out vegan diet can provide all your needs for children, even for nursing mothers, and certainly for adults. But
nursing mothers,
you have to educate yourself. And so it requires a balance of some vegetables, some fruits, some nuts, some seeds, all the colors of the rainbow. And what I tell my patients and my own family that has chosen this is there's some supplements. You have to take B12. Vegan diet does everything for you, but it just isn't out there, and it isn't a natural diet. It's, I think, the best diet that you can choose, but you got to get a little educated.
The vegan diet you're talking about?
Yes.
And the point is this, that, no diet is going to be perfect, and so the vegan diet isn't perfect, and there are some things you have to supplement. You have to make sure the B12 is there, you make sure you have protein, and any fat-soluble vitamins you have to also make sure that you have. And so you want to be careful and make sure you get educated. The key is that any diet you do, whether it be vegan or otherwise, that you're educated to make sure you meet your nutritional needs. Now, who would be a good person to talk to? I mean, whether it be a nutritionist or a physician, for a person who wants to start a vegan diet, would you say?
You really got to seek out a credible source, because although it has been endorsed, and certainly there's some education amongst our dietitians and some amongst the physicians that we deal with, it's not as widespread as it should be. I tell patients to read and go online, get credible sources on the internet, or go to the bookstore and buy some books. I think you'll find what you need if you educate yourself.
I think the key, for those of you who are watching at home trying to follow, is that get educated and make sure you know what things you're missing and what you can include in a vegan diet, and go from there. Yes, sir. Next question.
Doctor, is the vegan diet really healthier? I mean, fries and vegetable oil, that's not healthy, right?
That's a great point. People think if you go on a vegan diet, you're automatically, more healthy. But if you take French fries, like you talked about, and put it in vegetable oil and fry it up, you're having a vegan diet, but you're still not healthy. And the point is, again, education, isn't it? It doesn't matter what your diet is. If you don't follow some basic principles, you're still going to be unhealthy. What do you think about that?
Well, absolutely. I mean, there's no question that eating Snickers and French fries and Coca-Cola and calling it a vegan diet, it's going to meet somebody's definition. Nobody in the medical field.
A lot of people in that vegan diet.
Yeah, we'd sell a lot of books if that was a recommendation. And I mean, in many people's life a transition from what is often called the standard American diet or the Western diet,
Sure.
which is a very toxic diet, into vegetarian and vegan choices. And often that transition, some products are chosen that aren't necessarily the healthiest, but it provides a path. And when you've been eating and studying it as long as I have, you end up knowing fresh organic vegetables, fresh organic fruit, buying from farmers market or direct from the farm, you're going to become more and more conscious of it. So that short transition where maybe it is a French fry and a Snickers is, if it's short term and it gets you away from 3 times a day eating meat, I still wouldn't criticize somebody short term.
And you said a very critical word, it's a pathway. You know, we talk about in many of our shows, we're giving tools for our patients or viewers, and you have to follow that pathway, but understand general knowledge. So, you know, if you make sure you avoid heavy amounts of oil and saturated fat, you want to make sure that your caloric intake is adequate. If you eat, enormous amounts of anything, including vegan diet, you're going to be obese, and that's going to result in problems. All the vegan diet gives you is a pathway, and a pathway in which you can lead a healthier life. And so, and that's key. You have to be an advocate for your own health. It can't be done for you. So, great point. Yes, sir. Next
Hello.
question. Hi.
Isn't vegan diets more expensive than typical meals?
Well, it's an important point, because many of my patients, when I tell them, as a gastroenterologist, eat more fruits and vegetables and have more fiber, they say, it's cheaper for me to go to Taco Bell than ever go to a grocery store and have vegetables. And that's an important point. So what do you say to those folks that say, it may be in the short term or even the long term a bit more costly for me to get these vegetables and meat than some of the processed foods? Go down the aisle, it's 2 for $1 and et cetera. What do you say to that?
Well, I have a couple quick answers I give patients, which I tell them: spend more, eat less.
Spend more, eat less.
Spend time on your health that's quality. I also tell them, go price out chemotherapy if you're concerned about the cost of vegetables and fruits, because we're talking about actual prevention of disease. Food is medicine. But when we compete against Taco Bell, eating vegetarian or vegan, it's a tough go, because we're talking cheap food. I didn't say healthy food, but cheap food. If we're talking that you're out there buying medium to high quality meats, chicken and fish, and now you go and buy beans, vegetables, grains, soy, you're going to actually save money if you're substituting high quality vegan for medium to high quality animal-based diet. So I think you will save money. That's been shown.
That's a great point. People think of the fact that you have just processed food, but if you have high quality meats that you don't have, then you can save money. When we come back, we'll have more questions from our studio audience. Please don't go away.
There are many examples of weightlifters, endurance athletes, competitive athletes that have not only practiced a vegan life, but have actually chosen it to improve their performance.
Welcome back. When we left you, we were talking a little bit about vegan diets and maybe the cost of vegan diets. So it's a great question so far. Yes, ma'am.
If I want to become a vegan, don't I have to avoid all animal ingredients?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think the point is, do you have to read every label and every trace little part, of an animal product that's there? Should you avoid it? I think there's 2 philosophies. Do you go and have the vegan diet in spirit and try to follow that, or are you going to just spend your whole day looking at labels? What do you think about this? You can really get all your energy and your time and look at that and let it consume you. What do you think about this?
Well, if there's a medical issue, if you're lactose intolerant and you really need to avoid dairy, and I think you got to delve in and really read the ingredients, because you might have a reaction.
Perfect.
If you're a very committed vegan in terms of animal rights, you may, for ethical reasons, want to do that. I sort of tell people there's macro and micro vegans. Macro, if I don't see dairy, meat, eggs, it meets the criteria.
Sure.
And I don't worry about micro if 1 part in a million might be something that I'm not aware of. So I try not to drive patients and myself too crazy, but it's a broad world and people can approach it in different ways.
And so the point being is that, obviously for the reasons you talked about, if it's ethically concerning to you or you have a dietary restriction, absolutely look at all your ingredients. But otherwise, what we're trying to talk about is a path. Again, I love that you said that, a path in which you can follow to be more healthy. So if you follow that in spirit, like you talked about, maybe in some broad strokes. So you say, I want to follow this in spirit to get a healthier life and maybe, be more conscious of the environment, etc. But don't, if you don't need to, and ethically you can agree with it, don't be consumed by it. Because then, all of a sudden, all you're doing is reading labels rather than following the spirit of what you're supposed to do is being healthy, not only of the body, but also of the mind. And if you're consumed by something, all of a sudden, it may not be as healthy as you think. So, good question. Yes?
Hi, doctors.
Hi.
So I like to eat out. Is it difficult to find vegan-friendly restaurants?
I think that's an important point, and you like to eat out. I think also lots of people have, they have businesses and they entertain people, and it's very difficult sometimes to find a vegan-friendly restaurant. I think more and more, I think we're able to find that. I mean, I think some of the resources that you talked about, what do you think about that? Is it hard to find these vegan-friendly restaurants these days?
Well, the easiest answer is there's, again, a website that's called happycow.com.
Happy Cow.
Every city in the world.
that makes sense.
Any vegetarian or vegan grocery store restaurant is listed. So I use that if I'm traveling the United States or traveling the world. I think as long as you're a little bit bold and put it out that that's important to you, you'll be pretty satisfied. Fast food still remains
It'll be hard.
an issue. You've got to be educated if you're going through a fast food line, which I wouldn't usually recommend.
Right, exactly. And again, more and more now, because of the advocacy and so many people having vegan diets, I think restaurants have been forced to actually offer that. And now millions of people are vegetarian. It's millions upon millions, and it's increasing as the awareness of some of the healthy consequences of eating vegetarian. So go on the website and be informed. If you go to a favorite restaurant, if you go there on a frequent basis, what I would do is ask them, listen, I want to be coming in. Is there any way you can prepare something that's vegan friendly? So very important point. You can really now, have not that much difficulty in finding a restaurant that's vegan friendly. Next question.
Hi,
yes.
doctors.
Hi.
Is it difficult to work out or train with a vegan diet?
Well, that's a great question. So the idea is that we think that if you don't eat meat, somehow you're not as strong and that you can't really work out or exert as much physical exercise. I think the answer is yes, you can work out, and it's education, as Dr. Kahn was pointing out. Educate yourself and know your protein requirements, know your nutrition requirements when you're exercising more, because your demands are higher. Would you agree, Dr. Kahn?
Yeah, I agree entirely. There are many examples of weightlifters, endurance athletes, competitive athletes that have not only practiced a vegan life, but have actually chosen it to improve their performance.
Interesting.
The most recent is Serena Williams winning Wimbledon. She's been a vegan for about a year and talks about how her athletic performance has gone from great to super great when she gave up the rest of the animal-based products she was eating. So,
and she's the oldest Wimbledon champion, isn't she?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was number 6, and she did that on plants. I mean, pretty proud of that fact. So, yes, again, there's so much available on the web, in books, no difficulty training. You're right, there are great plant-based proteins, and the real athlete is going to want to pick in, good sources of that.
Dr. Kahn, thank you very much for taking the time to answer these questions. I really appreciate it. And then when we come back, we'll have Partha's prescriptions. Please don't go away. Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. Today we've discussed veganism and its possible benefits and some difficulties. What can we take away from today's Partha's prescriptions? Number 1, choosing a vegan diet is a personal decision and must be based on your personal goals for nutrition, health, and the environment. Number 2, we've said this again and again in our shows, prevention. A vegan diet can be beneficial in the prevention of cardiac disease and cancer. Number 3, be informed, get educated. Talk to your doctor about the facts regarding a vegan diet before starting one. Number 4, understand the nutritional risks of a vegan diet. If you choose veganism, make sure you get adequate vitamin D, protein, and vitamin B12. Now, for more information on veganism, please visit our website at www.askdrnandi.com and join the discussion on our Facebook and Twitter pages. Just search Ask Dr. Nandi. Now, lastly, there's a beautiful word in the Hindi language that literally means the light in me honors the light in you. And that word is namaste. So namaste to each and every one of you, and thank you for watching. And see you next time.